ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमस्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतु गणेशाय नमः। सरस्वत्यै नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। सुमुखश्च एकदन्तश्च कपिलो गजकर्णकः लम्बोदरश्च विकटो विघ्नराजो विनायकः धूमकेतुर्गणाध्यक्षः फालचन्द्रो गजाननः वक्रतुण्डः शूर्पकर्णो हेरम्बः स्कन्दपूर्वजः शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये यस्य वरदवक्त्राद्या पारिषद्या परस्ततं विघ्नं निघ्नन्ति सततं विश्वक्सेनं तमाश्रये। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। आमायन्तु ब्रह्मचारिणः स्वाहा विमायन्तु ब्रह्मचारिणः स्वाहा प्रमायन्तु ब्रह्मचारिणः स्वाहा दमायन्तु ब्रह्मचारिणः स्वाहा क्षमायन्तु ब्रह्मचारिणः स्वाहा यशोजनेशानि स्वाहा श्रेयान् पश्यतो सानि स्वाहा संत्वा भगप्रविशानि स्वाहा समा भगप्रविश स्वाहा। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Now with Swami's grace, let us continue. We came up to Brajishnur Bhojanam Bhokta Sagishnur Jagadadijaha. We came up to that point. Okay. Jagat Adi Jaha. Anagho Vijayo Jeta Visvayo Nipunarvasuhu. Anagho Vijayo Jeta Visvayo Nipunarvasuhu. Anagaha. Anagaha means blemishless, faultless. There is no, not even an iota of blemish. Is purity itself. Anagaha, without any blemish, without any fault, without any deficiency. And the only way that can happen is, even though Bhagavan appears as the Prapancham, as appears in the myriad varieties that we see in this world and the universe, in the physical and the mental and emotional and spiritual fields, he is absolutely untouched by it. Because he is untouched, so he is Anagaha, he is faultless, purity itself. Just the way when there is smoke in the sky, when in the Akasham, the Akasham is not affected by that, right? It is like that. So he is absolutely untouched. Purity itself, Anagaha. Anagho Vijayo Jeta Vijayaha. Jayaha is victory. Vijayaha. Vijaya. V means it's as Kanchi Paramacharya taught me a long time ago, when you put the word V before, it has two meanings. And it means a very special type of, very sacred type of, an exclusive type of. Exclusive not in terms of removing things, but in terms of speciality and sacredness. And a phenomenal variety of. Those all included by that appellation V. And sometimes it also means, in Sanskrit, when the V comes, it's opposite of the word that follows. Okay, the meaning is opposite. But here it is the first part, which is it's a sacred, supreme, special type of victory, varieties of victories. So Vijayaha, and that is love itself. Love, prema, conquers everything in whichever way that you think of it. It's a variety of victory that prema has, okay, in life, from small to big things, small to major things. But why is it able to do that? Because of its exclusive, special, unique power that can conquer that can win over everything. That is Vijayaha. And next one is Vijayo Jeta, because Jeta means its nature is to win only. It doesn't know what defeat is. Love does not know what defeat is, period. Its nature, its very inherent characteristic, if we can attribute a characteristic to it. Now we are attributing so many characteristics to this characteristic-less thing, this prema. But so when we assign a characteristic to it, the natural characteristic of this entity, prema, is to win only, to win over, to win not in terms of the way we think in terms of material or worldly matter, the permanent victory, an enduring victory, a calm, unadvertised victory. Okay, that is its nature, Jeta. Vijayo Jeta. Anagho Vijayo Jeta. Visvayonis Punar Vasuhu. Visvayonihi. Yonihi, as we saw earlier, when we plant a seed, a sapling comes out of it. So we say the sapling comes out of the seed. Whether it is a birth of a human being or an animal or a plant, everything comes out of a certain seed, types of seed. But that is not where the story begins, actually, because the seed itself, when you break it open, there is nothing there. The power of creation that is embedded in that seed physically, the power of creation that is embedded in or pervading our mind, for example, that creates so many things, that yonihi, that is yonihi, Visva yonihi. So he is the reason, the cause for the whole prapancham. And only that yonihi is that aspect of Bhagavan that creates and manifests itself. Okay, and Visva yonihi, the whole prapancham, the whole Visvam is he is the reason and the cause for that, because he is the reason and cause for all this creation that has taken place. He is also the support. He is the one who's also supporting it. Visvayonihi. And Punar Vasuhu. Vasuhu. Vasu means to reside. And Punar Vasuhu, again and again. What does he do? What does this prema do? It again and again and again, it dons so many forms on almost an endless manner. Again and again, so many forms it dons, and then it resides in it. And it actually not only resides, that does not mean it is separate from the form. It is actually appearing as the various forms, like as a projection, you know, and that's what it does. So the Punar Vasuhu, and again and again and again, so many embodiments that it takes. And it also resides as the Antaryami in Kshetrajna, as Bhagavad Gita says, in all the various embodiments that it appears. Punarvasaku. And it does it not once, not twice, but again and again and again and again. Okay? Punarvasaku. Anagho Vijayo Jeta Visvayonis Punarvasaku. Upendro Vamana Pramsur Amogas Suchirurjitaha. Upendraha. Upendraha. Upendra is classified as the younger brother of Indra. Okay? But he's also more powerful than Indra. Okay? Now, in the 12 Adityas, the sun, the earth goes around the sun, and we experience that in 12, we classified it. Even though the process is continuous, our elders have classified that into 12 months. Okay, Masam as it is called. Now, each month we know that we interact with the sun in a different way. certain months it's extremely hot when we are close to it. When we are farther from it, it is not as hot, right? And sometimes it is extremely bright and sometimes it is less bright. So the 12 months, each one is an Aditya, okay? And one of those Adityas is Upendra, and he is the 12th Aditya in that frame. So that Upendra has got those two different meanings. Upendro Vamana from Suhu Vamana. Vamana means we know immediately we think of dwarf. That is the one who came as the Vamana Avataram. Okay, such a small, short boy. That's what he came. But the moment you think of that Vamana who manifested himself, what is our immediate reaction? We don't think of him as a dwarf. We don't think of him as a small, short person. Immediately, reverence comes out of our mind, right? And we worship him. He generates that worshipping reaction, so to speak, from us automatically. When we go to a temple, it's the same thing. This is the difference between the selfless love and when it is not selfless. When somebody is so loving, so full of selfless love like Bhagwan is, we go to a temple, wherever automatically, without us realizing it or wanting to do it, our involuntary reaction or action will be to fold our hands and to worship. Okay? So Vamana Avataram, when we think of it, bhajikal, we do bhajans, we do worship him in our mind automatically. That is Vamana. Now, another meaning that the Vedas give for the word Vamana, whoever worships him, he grants some succor and protection simply through his effulgence. That effulgence of prema that encompasses, that embraces us, and that actually immerses us in it. That very one minute taste of it, so to speak, but instant taste of it itself gives so much succor and so much rejuvenation, so to speak, to lead one's life, okay? And the shot of confidence, whatever you want to call it. And we know that it is protecting me. I just have to do my job that has been allotted to me, but I know I'm being well taken care of. That assurance comes. These are all included in the word Vamanaha. Pram Suhu. Now, Pram Suhu is very interesting. So when you think of physically, he appeared as a short form. But what happened to that short form? He also grew into gigantic proportion. Did he not? That aspect of love is Pram Suhu. This is the beauty. And when we are bottling up our own prema, and it appears almost non-existent. Then when we look to it a little bit, it appears like a Vamana. It appears so short and so small and so little, right? But because we are deluding ourselves, it is not there. It is so little, or what can it do and all that. But the moment I worship it, the moment I look to that Vamana, the love that is present in me as Vamana, what happens to it? It grows gigantically, immediately, instantly. And that is what the meaning of when Bali Chakravarti, did the argument and offered the promise and sanctified it by offering water. That instant, what happened? This little boy started growing gigantically. That's what happens to love. It cannot be bottled up. The moment I look at even one drop of it, it becomes an ocean instantly. Vamana, Vamana and Avamana. Avamana means to grow instantly, gigantically. Okay. Now, in one of our scriptures, it says that when Bhagavan took his, he did not take the 3 steps. He took only 2 steps, right? The third step was reserved for blessing his devotee. So the first step, he covered all the physical manifestations, the prapancham. At that time, the sun and the moon were in his chest. And then when he was crossing the space, and space means not the space that we are thinking of physically, but going beyond that into the spiritual realm itself, to the Satyalokam, okay, and which is beyond there are certain star constellations where the Saptarishis and all live, and then they go beyond that to the Satyalokam. And when Bhagavan went there, when the second foot went there to give the darshan to Brahma, of his tapas, right? Bhagavan, with one action, fulfills so many devotees' requests. And at that time, the sun and the moon were in his nabhi, okay? And then finally, when he went to the Satyalokam and the Swargam and all that, the sun and Surya were actually right there at his foot. That is like a big toe. That area, that's so small it was. That's the way figuratively one of our scriptures describes it in Vamanavataram, what happened when the Trivikrama happened. But the most important thing is how this manifested aspect of this prema is pervading the whole prapancham, and that includes our mind, okay, the mental creations, but the unmanifested aspect is even much, much more. That is where Amritam itself is. That is Pramsuhu. Upendro Vamana Pramsuhu Amogas Suchihi Urjitaha. Amogaha. We all do, and Bhagavad Gita assures us, we do so many actions, right? We find some of them are wasted. We think, oh my God, I didn't achieve my results, right? So we think it's wasted. And so sometimes we get disappointed. Sometimes the effect comes exactly opposite of what we desired, right? So all these things take place. And even though we're not able to experience the law that is operating, that makes all this happen, intellectually we assign that to a thing called karma, right? Even though we don't fully grasp it. But Bhagavan is not like that. He is Amogaha. Every single action of Bhagavan is always yields benefits and succor to all the other beings, all beings. It is never wasted. Not a single word, not a single glance, not a single action, not a single abhayahastam, and nothing is wasted. When we read in Dasamaskantam how this little baby Krishna was looking at everybody through the corners of his eyes as he was walking in the opposite direction. He used to look in exactly the other direction. Why did every little glance from him only, and even if Bhagavan doesn't speak to you, if Bhagavan even doesn't look at you, that action also is only causing benefit. There is nothing that is wasted. Amogaha. Amogaha. Suchihi. Suchihi. Have you ever thought about where does purity come from? Pavitram pavitranam yaha. We saw that right in the beginning, how Bhishma begins, right? That pavitram, where does it come? That suchihi means purity. Where does purity come from? So the purity, the aspect of cleaning, the ability, the power, the force, energy, whatever you want to call it, that removes the impurities, that entity must have the power for that, right? And makes it pure. The purity that is present in purity itself, that is Suchihi. And that is Prema only. Because that's the one that is Amogaha, never wasted, that is never absolutely attached to everything. At the same time, it purifies and cleans all the impurities that it comes in contact with. That is its nature. The impurity could be anger, jealousy, desire, lust, or whatever it may be, ego, which is a phenomenal thing, right? So whatever it is, when the moment the love comes in contact with it, love from inside or from outside for that matter, it doesn't matter. Really, the inside and outside really is incidental. But when you touch prema, that moment these impurities automatically get eradicated. That suchihi is purity itself. So how does it happen? I do dhyanam on him. I do worship him in the proper manner, with the proper attitude, not with steeped in ego saying, I'm doing this, I've done so much, I've done so many prayers, I've contributed so much to the temple, so many things, we do, I'm saying I've done. No. Those things are all, they don't touch him at all. But sincerely, when I worship him, and this ego actually takes a backseat. He purifies and brings us closer to him. That the refinement process, the mental refinement process, is what tapas is all about, not a physical one. Purifying the mind and offering it as at the lotus feet of Bhagavan. Bhaktya prayachami is what Swami says in Bhagavad Gita. Whatever you do it with bhakti, with love towards me, love for God, that automatically purifies my mind. My mind gets purified, even a little bit. To that extent, my words will get purified. And my actions will get purified. The thought process is the fundamental for all the other actions that we do. That's suchihi. Another meaning is, it is so pure. The nature of love is to expand only. There is no season for it. There's no reason for it. It just expands. And it cannot contract. And it's always filling. And everything it comes in contact with, it embraces and immerses it in it itself. And it remains the same. It is full. It is paripurnam. Never changes, never increases, never decreases. And it's such a phenomenally beautiful thing. And because its nature, the nature of love is to love only, nothing else. Because of that, the Bhagavan is Kritagnya. He never forgets even the slightest action somebody does for him. Okay, Kritagnya, gratitude. Like the way Rama embraced Hanuman, said, what can I do except this embrace? I have nothing else. And Bhagavan gives himself to the devotee. And because Kritagnya, but having said that, when he does something to somebody, he does not expect anything in return. This is a beautiful aspect of Suchihi. Okay, that is the clearest sign and indication that one is become pure. When you do action for action's sake, not expecting anything. You help someone, not doing it for expecting something in return. And it's your duty. You serve and move on and offer everything to Bhagavan. That Suchihi is something that we must learn from Swami. Not expecting, even though Bhagavan gives us so much, without all the things he has given, we cannot live even for one blink of an eye moment. Right? So many things. All those things, do we have gratitude to him? But he is doing that for us. He is not expecting anything back from us. He just wants our happiness. That's all he wants. Okay? Suchihi. Urjitaha. Urjitaha means one who is extremely powerful, very powerful. And it is so powerful that there is nothing, as Bhagavan Krishna, before he took birth, to Devaki, he assures her, there is not a single person, don't worry, you will see so many things, but remember, I'll tell you, there is no one that has been born or was born or to be born or is born in all the 14 worlds who can do any harm to me. Impossible. Because everything else, the prema actually overpowers and converts it, purifies it. Even the most ferocious enemy, the ferocious feeling with which you approach Bhagavan, because once you taste that even that sprinkle of that prema falls on you, it is completely eradicated. So he is Urjitaha. He is so powerful. There is nothing more powerful than love. And Bhagavan himself says, I don't have any weapons. We say in Sahasranamam so many weapons that he is carrying. Bhagavan, for him, everything is really a weapon if he wants to use it that way. We picture him with Shankhu and Chakram and Gadai and all these. These are for our pleasure that, he's appearing like that to us. But he says, I have nothing. I have no weapon. The only thing I have is love. Only prema. That is the only most powerful entity that there is. So Urjitaha is very, extremely powerful. Anago Vijayo Jeta Visvayoni Punarvasuhu, that is 16. Then Upendro Vamana Pramsur Amogas Suchirurjitaha, second part of the slokam is Atindra Sangrahas Sargo Dhrutatma Niyamo Yamaha. Atindraha is Ati, the word, when you see the word Ati means that something beyond, that is more powerful than, superior than, okay? And Indraha, this is something more powerful and superior than Indra. Now, what is this Indra? Okay? We, allegorically, we say he's got 1,000 eyes and all these things. Indra, as Krishnananda Swami said beautifully in explaining Bhagavatam Upanishad, he talks about Indra as the hope that we have. We all have hope, and hope is our strength. That's what Indra gives us, that balam, that dhairyam, okay, that viryam, everything that we have, because we have this hope, this sense of hope. Now, can you picture this hope? Can you give it a form? This is what hope is. It's impossible, right? But we automatically, in every moment that we live, right? Every moment, regardless of what we pursue, whether we pursue materialistic things, as most of us do, whether we pursue our own accumulation and property and prosperity and all that, fame and power and whatever we pursue, or if we pursue sacrifice, we pursue dhyanam or meditation, spiritual activities, whatever we pursue, the effort and the activities to become better people, to purify our own mind, to become more loving, whatever we pursue, whatever we do, whichever way we live, every moment, every action, thought of us is fundamentally behind that there is this hope. Hope, okay? We might say, sometimes we give words to it, express it like, yeah, things will become better when we are going through some difficulties, right? Or even when we are not going through difficulties, even though there is some fear lurking in our mind, all the money that I made, will that be protected? Or so many things are there, okay? But behind all that, there is this hope that is always carrying us through. The moment it becomes a hopeless situation, that is when people commit suicide, right? This hope is what Indra is. Now, what is it that is Atindra? What is it that is beyond and superior and even more supreme than this Indra? Actually, when I surrendered to Bhagavan, Indra becomes not important to me. Hope becomes not important to me. I take a prasada buddhi attitude. Bhagavan is taking care. It's not a hope thing. It's a faith thing, right? And faith is always superior to hope. Hope means, something is going to happen the way that you want it to happen. But faith is accepting, generating the strength and the fortitude to accept everything as Bhagavan's blessing for my own benefit and for my own progress towards a lotus feet. The sooner I accept Bhagavan's command and I leave to him, the quicker I will be able to embrace the lotus feet. It's as simple as that. Atindra, that is what it means. Beyond this this hope. It's not a hopeless thing. It is the thing, the strength that gives strength to hope itself. Okay? Atindraha, Sangraha, Sangraha. Gragaha means to take it in. Sangraha. At the time of dissolution, where does all the things dissolve? That is Sangraha. Where does, in a physical form, in a prapanjam manifested creation, the physical manifested creation, all get dissolved. What happens to the mind? All the mental agitations that we have, what happens to it? That is also gets dissolved in him. Now, where is this pralayam? Is it going to take place at the end of, one kalpam, mahapralayam, and all that? Yeah, those are all, they take place. But every moment that we live, every day and night that we live, is pralayam is taking place continuously. So when I go to sleep and then I dream, my mind is still agitated. But beyond that, that dissolution, that agitation also get dissolved in the deep sleep state. Samgragaha. He withdraws everything into himself. He is showing us that I'm with you all the time. And when even the mind dissolves in him, every night we sleep, Samgragaha takes place. He dissolves all our agitation, gives us and embraces us with the peace that we, each one of us is. That is why after beautiful sleep, we all get up refreshed. Without sleep, very difficult to live. Without food, you can live for some time. Without water, you can live for some time. But without sleep, it's very difficult to live. Okay, everybody needs sleep for this embracing the Bhagavan. So Samgraha takes place there. Okay, so Atindraha, Sangragaha, Sargaha. Sargam means he is the one who's creating the Srishtikarta, as we say. What we call as, in our measurement of time, we say second, moment, and nimisham, and so many things. But time is immeasurable. But the passage of time, that we all interact with time, but time is interacting with us, so we put it even more precisely, the process of creation is taking place continuously. And the creator, the Srishtikarta, that he is Sargaha. Now, what happens to the thing that is created? Whether I create my opinion about somebody, I've created that. Or whether I create a pot from clay, I've created that. Or make a nice handiwork, artwork, or a painting, I've created that. Right? Or I give a speech, I've created that. These are all different. Every moment we are creating. But interestingly, he is the one who's creating it. And the created form that takes place, be it a thought or a feeling or a physical object or a painting or a song that I sing, whatever it is that has been created, he is also that form that is appearing as a created entity. Sargaha is both the creating aspect as the created aspect. So he is the creator as well as the created. Sargaha. Atindra Sangraha Sargo Dhrutatma Niyamo Yamaha. Dhrutatma. Dhruta Atma. We all take birth, but then right from the moment of birth, we all go through change. Right? We call it, there are 6 types of changes, right? We go through that. But every vikaram it is called. In Sanskritam, change is called vikaram. Now, Bhagavan is Dhrutatma. He has no birth and he also is changeless. There is no change that happens to him. He is only one entity, Ekam Sat, Eka Rupam. Okay? He appears as Anekam, but he is only Ekam. And that immediately Rupam means we have to give it a form, that we are all limiting ourselves to think only in terms of physical form. No. The only form of Bhagavan is prema. But what is the form of prema? What form, entity? It's got so many forms. Everything is the only one form of prema only. But what is its real form? Formless thing. What is it? That is Shantam. That is experience. Okay? That is prema itself. That is Satyam. Whatever you call it, that entity is only one. Ekam Sat. That is Dhrutatma. But that entity appears as many. And appearing as many, it is also remaining changeless as one entity in all the myriad appearances. Please remember that. That is Dhrutatma. Niyamaha, Yamaha. Niyamam means to control, to bring that under your authority and control. Okay? And what is this thing that has got all the devas, whether it is Brahma or Vishnu or Shiva or Creator or the Protector or the Dissolver, whatever we want to call it, the various aspects of this entity that is taking place, or the entity that gives you education, knowledge, that gives you wealth. So many things are there. That's so much blessings, incredible amount of blessings that we have in every moment from all directions, from every directions. Okay? Everything is under whose control? The control of this entity that is controlling everything. That is Niyamaha. So he is the one that keeps everything under his control. The whole, not only the Prapancham, the Hiranyagarbha itself, the mental world, not only the mental Hiranyagarbha, even Brahma himself, okay, the Virata Purusha, as Purushottam calls it. So all those, everything is under his control, Niyamaha. This is what Bhagavan describes in a way that we can begin to appreciate with our limited intelligence in Bhagavad Gita in Adhyayam 11. Okay? And Viswarupa Darsanam. You get an idea of what it is, but it's impossible to understand it. Okay? It is only experience. That Niyamaha, the one who's the entity that is keeping everything under its control. Why should it be so? We know that for every action there is a reaction, but why should it be so? Think, what is it that's controlling it? What is it that's controlling all the various planets going around the sun going around various star constellations? I mean, everything. What is it that is giving the order and keeping everything in certain order? Not a dot can move, as I've shared with you many a time, but not a leaf can fall. It's everything is under his control. That Niyamaha, that controlling aspect of prema is Niyamaha. Please understand, prema is very soft, is extremely kind, most forgiving, but it is not weak. Understand that. Softness and kindness does not mean it is weakness. And prema also does not mean it is without discipline. It does not mean it is without authority. All of us, whether we like it or not, will submit ourselves, will obey at some point in time to this command of prema. And it's a beautiful thing. So don't ever think that being loving means that you don't have to have discipline, that you don't have to have rules. No, you must do things according to the prescription of this prema, as given to us in Bhagavad Gita. Prema itself came as Krishna and told us this is what you should do. This is what I expect from you. And the thing that Bhagavan wants, things that prema wants from each one of us, from our own conscience residing in our heart, is for us, each one of us, to obey its command. Obey. I'm repeating that word, obedience, is very important. Till I obey it, it is not going to let me go. Simple. So don't think it is weak. Okay? So that is Niyamaha. Yamaha. One, Yamaha means self-control. Bringing all the things that, some people are quite, have a much better control in what they speak, how they speak, and more so than some others, right? What is the aspect that is taking place? The self-control of controlling things internally, right? And not being provoked, for example, right? Very easy to get provoked, easy to react, but not react, but more in a controlled manner, act only in a given situation. That discipline, that skill that is being developed, that aspect of self-control, that is Yamaha. Upendro Vaman Apramsur Amoghas Sushirurjitah Atindras Sangrahas Sargo Dhrutatma Niyamo Yamaha. Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.